Hey guys, welcome back to Blind Strike Exotics. Today we are here with Big Puma, wherever he is. And I want to talk to you guys about what do you do if you're afraid of your snake? And specifically, this will be ball pythons because that is what the majority of my collection is. It can't pertain to any snake, but every snake species has a different temperament, and every snake in that snake species has a different temperament. I have a bunch of ball pythons that literally would never, ever, ever get defensive or strike at me, and I have some that huff and puff and fake me out every single time I go into their tub. But I sort of briefly kind of visited this topic before, talking about like how to handle your ball pythons. This is more like, what do you do if you're afraid of them? Like, what do you do if just the thought of reaching your hand in there to get a piece of snake jewelry to get your snake out just scares you? And it's a good question. And you might be interested in snakes. You may have purchased your first snake and you were hoping that it was just going to be relaxed and chilled and not kind of frighten you. But let me tell you something. The first snake I ever had scared the crap out of me. I was afraid to pick it up. And of course, nobody wants to get bit or choked out. And this dude is not going to apparently chill out here. You have to be careful with these snakes as they get bigger, because even this guy, he's maybe about 1,000 grams. He's putting a pretty good choke hold on me. So let me get him off of here. Let's see. I don't even know where he is. I mean, this is pretty strong, even just for a 1,000-gram male. I mean, he has a pretty good hold on me. And he's not going to sit still. So actually, let me put him back. And maybe I can get another snake who is going to relax a little more. Not trying to hurt me, just on the move. He's very, very active. He's a very aggressive feeder. He's actually on his day off today. The 4 females I was pairing him up to, 3 of them are gravid right now. So he's going to have a lot of time off and a lot of time to grow up. All right, so I put Big Puma back because he was just going nuts, and I want to focus on what to do with snakes that scare you, and if you're afraid of them and how to handle them. So my very first snake, very first ball python, wasn't my first snake, but let's just talk about him, which was 2.5 years ago. It was a little hatchling, pastel, and they can be defensive when they're younger, and they can huff and puff. More likely, they're not going to try to bite you. They might try to fake strike. Kind of like this, just kind of come at you, but not actually try to bite you. Even if they do bite you, it's not going to hurt. They're very small snakes. You're a very big person. But like my little lemon blast leopard pied male here, let's see if he kind of does this. Let's see, he's a huffer and a puffer. Let's see, he's a beautiful little guy. Sometimes he huffs and puffs. He has struck before and never bitten me. But he's doing that because he's scared. Now, typically you want to try to come in from behind them and underneath them so you don't look like a predator. But let me see if I can just come in there calmly from the front or to the side and see if it will prevent him from putting a strike. Now, I'm hovering over him right now. He's probably getting a little more uncomfortable because I've been sitting here and kind of showing myself. If I would have just taken his hide off and scooped him up, probably wouldn't have had an issue at all. He might be getting a little more defensive right now because I'm sitting here and he's has a little too much time to think about it. He's curled up, that S shape in his neck. He was sleeping like that, and I just woke him up. So it's not necessarily a strike position, but anytime you see the S shape there, you might want to be just a little cautious. So let's just try to go in with my hand, see what he does. If he's showing a little bit of aggression or tries to strike, I will show you a little backup maneuver on how to get your snake out to prevent any you getting scared or the snake getting scared. So, see, he didn't even kind of unsure about it, but I've had him for probably about 6 months now, and he's kind of used to me coming in there. He didn't even huff or puff that time. So he's probably getting used to me going in there. Now these hatchlings that I had from back in the fall, I have, I think, 4 of them that I purchased to grow up. 2 of them are pretty chilled out. 2 of them were a little more kind of scared of what was going on. And like I said, he's chilled out, and he's even sitting there, me, hovering over top of him and giving him a chance to think about it. He was still relaxed. Those long tongue flicks are exactly what you want to see. That means that he's curious. He is kind of poking about, just kind of seeing what's going on in the world. And he is getting more comfortable with me, because probably 2-3 months ago, I still had him for probably 3 months at that point. He was still scared of everything in the world, which is fine, because he was, still a brand new snake in a brand new house. And he was getting used to me and his surroundings. Now that he's used to the routine, now that he's used to me coming in there, now that he's used to his new home, he is a lot more relaxed than he ever was before. So that is obviously the way you want your snakes to be. So, that's kind of the place that you want to get your snakes to. If you're handling them regularly, if you're having positive interactions with them regularly, that's the way your snakes are going to act. But look now, see how he got kind of scared when I put him back in there? I was moving around a little bit. He's even huffing and puffing. So he's still showing a little bit of that baby hatchling defensiveness. He's trying to curl up into a little ball, hide his head a little bit. So he still has that a little bit. So look, as soon as I try to put his hide back in there, he's curling up a little afraid. But that's okay. They're going to act like that. So if you're afraid of your snake, this girl, I think she's going in the shed, or in shed. Yeah, she looks like she's going in shed. The other thing you can try to do is, I'll pull this tub out just to kind of show you a little bit better. She's the other one who's a little defensive. You can do one of 2 things. You can take your hide, or you could take a towel or a paper towel or a shirt and kind of just blind them. So they can't see you. They can't see your hand coming in. So you hide their head from you. That does 2 things. That blinds them, makes them a little less defensive, a little less aware of their surroundings. And it also protects you from being afraid of a bite, because they're not going to strike at something that they can't see. At that point, again, if you come up from behind them and underneath, right in the middle of their body, the snake's fine. I've never been struck at a ball python after I've already picked it up and it's in your hand. I've had other snakes do it. I've had one of my rainbow bows do it. I've had a short-tailed python do it. I've had corn snakes do it. I've had my Woma python do it. I have never had a ball python strike at me after I've already had it in my hand. And this girl's a little defensive too. She's a little, what is she? She's Mojave, pastel Mojave pied possible leopard. She's definitely in shed though. You can see how pink her skin is, her scales are. So if you have a snake who is not used to being held, and is still a little scared or defensive, or strikes at you, you really just want to kind of divert their gaze away from you, so that they don't see you coming in, because they're afraid of you more than you're afraid of them. You're afraid of a little bite from that snake, but that snake's afraid of dying. And you want to make them comfortable, and you want to look like you're not a big giant predator. So if you're in, let's say you're probably in an aquarium, if you're watching this video and you just have one pet snake, unfortunately with the aquarium you have to come in and come down and reach in and grab that snake and pull it out. There's no way to come in directly from the side, because usually that your aquarium's probably on a desk that's waist high, and you're having to come in from up top and grab down and get the snake. Whereas in a tub, you're pulling it out, you're able to slide your hand in there and come up underneath. So if you're in an aquarium and you're having this issue where you're afraid of the snake's always trying to get defensive bites at you, you want to kind of pretend like they're a horse where they have blinders on. you want to redirect their attention away from your hand as you're trying to pick them up. So, you know, if you're going in there and you can't divert their attention with a hide, get a t-shirt, get a hoodie. Probably a t-shirt's easier because it's lighter. And you just kind of want to, you know, put it over their head. Let's see. Here, I'll show you this girl here. She's a little crazier than normal. My little Sterling Lesser female who laid a little bit ago. Oop, look, there's a bite. She's already afraid. So watch me do this here. She's biting at it. But look, so you put that over there. If you're absolutely afraid of the snake, she's biting, and she gave me a really good example there. And now she's not biting anymore because her head's covered. And I come up from behind her, underneath her, and she's cool. Now I got her out of her tub. She's okay. She's still huffing and puffing a little bit. But now that I got her out, she is not going to try to bite me. Now, she's always been one of my little more aggressive females. She's a really aggressive feeder. She actually laid a month ago, and she's already... Whoop. Well, she proved me wrong there. She's still bitey. But she was biting at the camera, not at me. She hasn't obviously been held a whole lot because, you know, she was in the process of breeding and, you know, mating and laying eggs and everything for the past couple months. And again, she wasn't one of my more relaxed females to begin with. But if you can see her, she's not biting at me. She was afraid of the camera. She was afraid of the towel coming in there, but she's never actually bitten me exactly, or even struck at me directly. So let me get her back in there. But that's the way you really want to kind of cover their head up, kind of blind them so they don't see you coming. And then if you can go in and scoop them up from behind or from underneath, it'll do a lot to kind of subdue your fears of getting bitten. And I guarantee you, unless you're holding them aggressively, or if you're holding them too tightly, or if you're restricting their movement, they're not going to bite you once you pull them out. If we're talking about ball pythons, it's really getting them out of their enclosure is really kind of the most pivotal part of the handling process. If your snake's defensive or aggressive, once they're out, they're usually easy to handle, especially if you're using two hands, especially if you're in a controlled environment where there's not, you know, people and hands and body parts flying around all over the place. If you're calm, if that snake is just hanging out with you, you're gonna eventually get a snake that, let's take Annie here. Annie is in shed. So, but I've had this girl for 2+ years. I mean, I can come in around top of her and she is just gonna put her head back. She knows not to strike at me if I'm coming in here. You know, snakes don't like when you come at their head anyways. It usually makes them go defensive, especially ball pythons. But this girl is, you know, I've had her since she was a little 1,000 grammer, and she's up over 2,500 grams now. This is it. That's all you got to do. I mean, I'm coming up underneath her, and I'm picking her up. I'm putting her on my shoulder, and she's used to this. I've had her for a long time. She is comfortable with me. She's comfortable with anybody picking her up. Never aggressive, never defensive. You know, every once in a while your snake will get into a mood, but this girl's never even tried to bite me, and she's completely calm. And this is her, you know, she's in her pre-lay shed now, one-handed, and she's still extremely calm, even with her little hormonal time of the year here. But you know, I can even look. I'm touching her head. She's so cool with it. She's not aggressive at all. These snakes aren't aggressive. They're not out to harm you. If your snake is striking at you, is because it's afraid, not because it's trying to hurt you. So you need to try to make it not afraid. And if there's one tool to help you not be afraid to pick that snake up, it's, again, probably just to kind of do something to redirect its gaze, to blind it. So if you can use a hide to kind of hide its head from you, or use a t-shirt, and just kind of lightly lay it on top of their head. And if that gives you the chance to scoop it up from underneath, to pick that snake up and get it out of its enclosure, then do that, because that'll help kind of calm your fears. That'll help calm the snake down. That'll get the snake out of the enclosure and then allow you to handle it in a more kind of subdued, kind of easygoing manner. So that's really my number one tip for handling a snake. If you're afraid of it, if you're afraid to get it out of its enclosure, just cover its head with something soft, something light, something that's not going to harm it. Pull it out and you're good. I mean, you need to handle the snake. You need to handle it often. You need to have positive experiences with that snake. You can't be trying to get it out and scaring the crap out of it, and it's just jumping at you. You can't get that snake out, and that snake, if it strikes at the air, you can't drop it on the floor. I mean, you have to be very sure of what you're doing. You have to be okay with, if you do get bit, that you're not going to throw the snake in the air and scare the crap out of it even more. Every time you have a negative interaction with that snake, it's going to make it harder for you to build that positive, relaxed bond. So be sure of what you're doing. Redirect the snake's gaze if you're trying to get it out and it's defensive. And then once you have it out, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to strike at you. Even that female that I brought out, she wasn't striking at me, she was striking at the camera. And I've actually had quite a few snakes do that. They must see a reflection or something from the camera and the light, because they'll strike at the camera, but they'll never strike at me. So that must be something to do with the reflection in the lens, or even the bright light on the camera itself. But she wasn't striking at me, even though she was striking at the towel or the hoodie when I put it in there. I got her out and she wasn't going crazy. She wasn't coming at me. So getting the snake out of the enclosure is the number one thing. Getting it out safely, and redirecting its gaze away from you so that it's not thinking you're a predator when you're actually pulling it out. Once you do that a handful of times, chances are that snake is not going to get defensive anymore. Just like that little baby pied male that we took out. He used to huff and puff every single time I pulled his tub open. And now, as you saw, he was completely calm, didn't even try to strike, didn't even huff or puff when I pulled him out. And that's the way you want your relationship with your snake to go. Let me know if you guys, if this tip works for you guys. I'll try to start uploading videos with just like a tip or two here and there that I've learned, over my course of owning ball pythons. And that's something I found at first where, again, I was afraid of it too. When I got my first one, I was afraid of picking it up. I was never allowed to have snakes growing up, so, I didn't have them till I was an adult, and I needed to try to get over those fears as well. And now I have this big collection, and you learn that ball pythons are basically little puppy dogs, except for a couple of them that might be a little unhinged, but they're few and far between. If you get it young, that's your best bet to tame it down. I have a couple females that are a little crazy, but I bought them as adults. I have no idea what their history is with being handled. They could have had negative experiences. They could have had no experiences. So you're getting a snake you don't know what their background is. If you get a baby, you're starting with a blank slate. That also allows you guys to grow together and form sort of a bond. So I would try to start with hatchlings, especially if you're new. You're not going to be afraid of getting bit of a little 200-gram snake as opposed to a 2,000-gram snake. It's not going to hurt you. So start off small if you can, if you're new, if you just have one animal. Obviously, if you guys are starting collections with a lot of snakes, you're going to be getting bigger snakes. But start them young, handle them often, and don't be afraid. These guys are not going to hurt you, especially the babies. They got tiny little teeth and tiny little jaw muscles, and 9 times out, they're probably not going to break skin if they do make contact with you. So don't be afraid of them. They're just defending themselves from you because they think you're a predator. So that's it for today. Hopefully this tip helps. Please, again, don't be afraid. They're like little baby puppy dogs. They just want to feel safe and secure. We'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by, and please remember to like and subscribe. See ya.